Hey everyone, and welcome to the NintendoFuse Podcast. This is episode 273, recorded on Sunday, June 4th, 2023. And that's right, we are recording this one ahead of time just because we had some scheduling conflicts, but we still wanted to get you out an episode. So here we are with a pre-recorded episode. For those of you that don't normally join us live, this really isn't going to be much different for you, except for we don't have the chat room that's going to be joining in with us. But we normally do record every other Monday. And on this episode, we're going to be talking all about maybe speculating about the future of Nintendo Switch with some recent announcements. We're going to be talking about the XSeed recent Marvelous Game Showcase and also some unfortunate news about Vanpool Studios. But my name is Steve, and I'm also here joined by Barry. Hey, Barry, how are you doing?
Hey, Steve, always a pleasure.
Yeah.
And it's weird being here on a Sunday.
It is. And also weird being here without Greg. You just got me and Barry today talking video games. Hopefully that's okay. For those of you that are Greg fans, come back next episode and hopefully we'll have Greg back. But so Barry, how's it been going just in general? Like, I know you got baby on the way and all that stuff. So you've been like cramming in a bunch of video games and movies and all that stuff before your life just drastically changes, huh?
Yeah, I got a set schedule of games I want to try and get through. Not that I still won't play after he's born, but it's like these ones I can play without having to worry about that. Even though we're raising puppies and we started puppy school now, so we're doing training for them. So, it's just gonna get crazier, but it's already crazy. But at the same time, it's like, that's part of the joys of life,
Yeah.
living it and then having the video games also to play alongside living it.
Absolutely. Yeah. So if you are brand new to the podcast, if you've never subscribed to us, I just encourage you to do that so you can be alerted every time that we get a new podcast episode in your podcast app. It'll be thrown right there in there for you. If you have not followed us on social media, we're at NintendoFuse on Twitter is pretty much where we're most active, and we'd love to have you over there as well as our Discord. So if you've not joined our Discord, we'd love for you to join that as well. You'll find that in the YouTube description and also in the podcast show notes, the links to all those different places where you can find us online. If you enjoy the podcast and want to connect more with us and the community that we have here, we would love for you to join all of those different areas. But let's get into this week's episode, and we're going to kick it off as always with what we have been playing. So Barry, what have you been playing?
Yeah, so I'm still doing on the Switch Pokemon Unite, still doing that every week, every day. They're doing an EV event right now, which is a lot of fun, a lot of interesting game modes they've added to the game. So I'm enjoying that. And of course, the big game I've been playing on the Switch is Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. No surprise there. And I'm virtually done with it. I might go and just do one or two little other things, but I am comfortable stepping away from the adventure. I have done, I think, I think there's like 10 side quests I'd never found. I did all the side adventures. I got every shrine in all places. I got every light route. I got every piece of gear. I upgraded them all to max. I got all the Sage's Wills. I beat the game, obviously. I've done virtually everything. I did not get all the Koroks. That's something I didn't do. I got like 450, but that's enough to max your inventory. I did not also do all the giant fights, like kill all the stone taluses and all the Gleeoks. I didn't bother with that. I did the ones for the quests, but I'm like, I don't need to. Like that's busy work at this point. I got other things to play, and I've put in well over 200 hours into this game, so I definitely got my money's worth, and absolutely loved it. Absolutely loved it. I really liked the story. Really liked where everything wound up. I love the adventure. I love the exploration. There's so much to this game. And like every other Zelda game, now that I'm pretty much done with it, I'm ready for the next one. Let's go.
You just
So
gotta wait
because
like
I'm
6 years.
just 6 years. So since I'm done with Zelda, the next big game I've been waiting for is Final Fantasy, which is coming out soon. But I got a month. I think it's the 22nd of June. So I started playing a game that I wasn't expecting to play. It's a series that's near and dear to my heart, and I love it. But I seem to play every other entry a lot. I didn't really play the first one too much. I played the second one a hell of a lot. My whole childhood was the second one. Didn't really play the third one much. I played it a little bit. Played the fourth one a hell of a lot, and I never even booted up the fifth one because when I launched it, it launched terribly, lacking content, and I just never went to it. But then the reviews came out for Street Fighter 6, and
Mm.
they're phenomenal. And I'm like, oh my god, okay, I guess I'm doing every other entry at this point. Love Street Fighter. I love the characters. So I got Street Fighter 6 on launch day, and my God, is it a good game?
Really
Because I haven't even touched the standard fighting mode. It's an RPG. Street Fighter 6 is an RPG. A-
interesting.
and it's got a really cool RPG mode where you play your custom character. You create your character, male, female, whatever you want, and you start out in a dojo with a brand new character who teaches you as his mentor, and you become his student, and you get his fighting style, and then you kind of go off into Metro City from Final Fight, and you
Hmm.
get to walk around the streets, and you can find other Street Fighter characters and become their pupils, and then you can choose to play as them. So like you still play as you, but you have the fighting style of Ryu or Ken or Blanca or Zangief or Chun-Li or whomever you love of the classic series, plus all these new characters, and then you can mix and match. So you can play as Chun-Li's fighting style with the Hadouken if you want. Like it's really really cool.
Hmm.
And the way it works is you level up, you get points, you get skill tree that you could boost your punches, your kicks, your vitality, and as you walk around, there are gangs, the gangs from Final Fight are there, and they will attack you. And when you get into a battle, instead of a turn-based battle, it's a Street Fighter battle, and you could be fighting against six other people, and they come in waves, and it's Street Fighter. Or you could initiate a battle with virtually anybody on the street. So think Grand Theft Auto, where you could just walk up to somebody and like normally just like clock them in the head. Well, in this, you could just walk up to them and be like, "We're fighting," and you fight them. And I felt like I was like, this is a really interesting concept. And when there was a mime on the street and I realized I could walk up and fight the mime, I knew this game was up there. Like, oh, this is great. You could beat the shit out of a mime, and every fight has different parameters to get bonuses and different experience points. And you can't like continuously grind on the person. You have to come back later to fight them
Hmm.
if you want. And everyone's different levels and everyone's different skills. And there's side quests, there's main quests, and the side
Yeah.
quests. And unlike Jedi Survivor, there is a mini map and it shows you where to go and all that stuff. Which take note, EA. But yeah, I'm probably a good 6 7 hours in on this mode, and I'm in chapter 7. I don't know how many chapters there are. You get plane tickets. You don't stay in Metro City. You fly to
Okay.
Brazil. You fly to England. You fly to Mexico, and they're not like big maps. They're small little maps, but there's different fighters there, and it's really in depth. You take the subway, and it's like a Final Fight level in the subway, and Mayor Hagar has the big statue because from Final Fight, and it's really good. This gives
Hmm.
armor. There's different like shirts, and they all have different stats, like an RPG. And there's even glamour. So you're like, oh, well, this cat ears is better than the baseball cap I'm wearing, but I don't want to wear cat ears. You can keep the glamour of the cap, but you're still wearing the cat ears for the better stats. Um,
Hmm.
at one point I was wearing a mini skirt on my guy because it was the better stats, but I glamored it to jeans. It unbelievable. So like if you like fighting
Hmm.
games, definitely I recommend if you've ever played Street Fighter and if you like RPGs, absolutely. But if you don't like RPGs, there is the standard Street Fighter mode, there's online mode, there's all that stuff. But yeah, I've just been playing the RPG mode of it, and
Wow.
it's phenomenal. Like it's
That's
like a 92 on Metacritic. I'm like, I gotta check this
Yeah,
out.
that's interesting. Yeah, because I knew people were asking the question, like, is it worth the whole $60? And I've thought the same thing. I'm like, if all you have is a strictly just a fighting game nowadays, like, is that worth that? Because if you're not really into it, want to play it all the time, what is the value there? And it
Yeah.
seems like they've went above and beyond, probably including something they should have included before, because it seems like so simple that they should
Yeah.
have thought of this already. But it sounds great. Like that's exactly what you would expect of a game to evolve and grow in that way.
I feel like after Street Fighter V launched without a single player campaign and
Mm.
it was just so bare bones and they got a lot of flack and people were pissed off. I think they like they overcorrected
Mm.
in the best possible way. They're like, no, we're gonna give you that full single player. And like I said, I've already put in like 6, 7 hours into it. And to me, that's a good amount of time just for any game. And I'm
Yeah.
still going.
Hmm.
And I'm having fun just randomly like, oh, this person has a piece of gear. I'm gonna fight them. And it's interesting to see where all the classic characters are. Like E Honda has a restaurant themed around sumo, and it's like and Chun Li is in Chinatown, and she's taking a break from her working on Interpol where she was going against
Hmm.
M Bison, and you know Ken is working in a construction outfit now, and building buildings, and his whole backstory there. And it's Blanca is trying to merchandise himself with little dolls and trying to sell them in from Brazil to the U.S. And it's just funny, and there's definitely an overarching story. I'm still, I feel there's probably at least 15 chapters, maybe 20. I don't
Hmm.
know. I could be off. I could be, off like over, or I could be way under, but it's a lot of fun.
Hmm.
And that's the weird thing. Like I feel like this is what Yakuza is like. Like I tried Yakuza
Hmm.
0 and it felt very similar to this, but I just didn't get into Yakuza even though I tried, and like this I've gotten into. So maybe I'll go back to Yakuza one
Hmm.
day. And thinking about this, but this blew me away thus far. It is really good, and I'm really glad I picked it up.
Cool.
So I'm working on that. PC, I'm still doing Final Fantasy 14. Still doing that now that the new patch is out. There's weekly stuff, and of course now I'm looking at it. I'm like, there's no way I'm gonna cap my gear before the baby comes,
Hmm.
and like that means I'm gonna be like, oh, I gotta cap my tomes and trying to play with the baby. So that's gonna be fun. But still having a blast there, and mobile still doing Mario Kart Tour. Still having fun
Cool.
there too.
Cool. Cool. I have heard that for some people, because you have to be up in the middle of the night and feeding and all those different things, you might be able to get more gaming time in at some times. So that might be some times that you are able to like cap out when you're just like sitting on your phone going, just eat your
Yeah.
food so I can go back to bed.
I did that this morning at 6 o'clock this morning. Our dogs got us up, and my wife was just too out of it, and I went to bed around 3 o'clock. So I'm 3 hours of sleep. I'm like, I got to get them up, I got to get them out, I got to get them breakfast, and I'm sitting there and I'm like, well, I'm gonna play more Street Fighter because I'm up anyways. Might as well.
Nice. Nice. So I've been playing, Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. I think I'm about 40 hours in. How many hours have you put in now, Jerry?
Over it said over 200, but I don't
Over
know the exact
200.
amount.
Okay.
But I did like AI left it and
Yeah,
like on while taking care of things.
sure.
So it's not 100% accurate, and a lot of it's just like non-progressing, just
Yeah.
walking around and exploring. And oh,
Oh
there's
yeah.
a Korok here. I'm gonna go for it.
Yeah. Speaking of my 40 hours, I'm pretty sure only about 5 hours of that has been actually progressive. I'm like jumping everywhere and climbing everything. I drove out to another area in here in Colorado, and as I was just like looking around, I'm like right in the middle of the mountains and everything, and I was having feelings of Zelda. I was like, I bet I could climb that. I bet I could climb up there. I wonder what that looks like up there. If only I had a hang glider or a glider to glide all these different things of like feeling like Zelda in the real world. And then at one point, I as I was driving, I passed a field that had a bunch of horses and then the mountains in the background. Like, this really is Zelda in real life. This is awesome.
You got to
um,
go sneak up on those horses and
I
try
know,
to
I know. I
mount
need to
one.
pull my car over the side and try to go behind the horse. That's the one
Yeah.
thing that I think about, like when Zelda. I'm like, when I learned about horses. Now I'm not a horse aficionado, but the one thing I remember learning about horses at a young age from experts in horses is you don't sneak up behind a horse.
Yeah. They kick you.
Exactly. But apparently that's what the Legend of Zelda teaches you how to do. So yeah. But yeah, I think I finally did the first area, first dungeon, whatever you want to call it. And I told you this in Discord as well. It's like, man, it took forever to get up there and go through the whole process. It was like I felt like it was its own like mini Zelda game just to get there, just to to get the things accomplished, just to beat the boss. All those different things was this huge process just to do that alone. And so I'm kind of glad I did put it off, because I did need more hearts and all that stuff. I think before I went up there, I was about 10 hearts. And I still, because rupees are so hard to come by, I've decided to just go on it with food and just go that direction. And so having to stop and eat food and keep going and stop and eat food and keep going every time I got hit or whatever was kind of a pain, which lengthened the process as well. But it's been fun, and I think I'm now on the path, and I'm just going to go ahead and keep progressing and hit the other 3 pretty soon as well. At least that's what I'm thinking now. Who knows what will distract me on my way to the next one. But that's where we are now. And then let's see. I also played some other games. I'd gotten some review copies and some free games from deals and specials and all those things over the last several months. And so I decided, hey, let me record some gameplay, and so we may throw them up on our YouTube channel at some point. But I played a game called Power Tris. It is kind of like a Tetris game, but involves like these power grid shapes that you drop, and you have to line them up to like do different stuff. It's not good. I'm just gonna say it was bad. Like I had no idea what I was doing. The menu, again, like this is a common thread. I feel like the menu systems of these games are just bad. Like I jumped into it. Guess what happened at the very beginning? No sound whatsoever. The default is to turn off game sounds and music when you jump into a game. Why would you do that?
What?
I have no idea, but it was defaulted to turn off the game sounds and music. I was like, what did I do here? And now I had to go in the settings and turn it back on. And it was like, it jumped into like the high scores. And I was like, I don't know what I'm supposed to be doing. And finally I pushed enough buttons to get me started in a game. And then I had no idea what was going on. Like, it doesn't do a great job of explaining anything. And I did some, it was okay. I finally got the hang of it after like playing it 3 or 4 times, but it just wasn't that great. So if you're up for a challenge, I guess, figure out Power Tris, but I wouldn't recommend it. And then I played another game called Papa's Quiz. Have you ever heard of this game?
No, but I all I can think of is Wii Shovelware by that name.
Yeah, that sounds about right. Take the like the Jack in the Box games, like the Jackbox game stuff and the trivia of it, and take that out and the concept of it, and then just make it all bad with
So
some
you don't know
really
Jack,
bad
terrible.
cliches. Yeah, like, but terrible. Like, you can play up to 8 players, I think it is, on screen, so you can use your controllers or your phone or a tablet or something like that to jump in. So it's all web based. You can also do a single player version, I guess, if you wanted to, where it's like a quick game, but you're not really competing against each other, anybody except for yourself. But yeah, like it's just, it was horrible. Like, the voices are awful. Like, the questions are fine, but just the overall experience was like, oh my gosh, like, this could be fun for like one playthrough just because we'd laugh at it a lot, but then I would never want to go back to it. So
is it better or worse than South Park Chef's Love Shack?
Oh, I've never played that one. I'm not sure.
It's the same type of game.
Is it? Okay. Yeah. So this guy, you can customize your character, and you can wear all these different things. And after every round, the winner gets to dance.
Oh.
Yeah.
Now, are you forced to dance in real life? Like, does it say get off the couch and actually dance?
It does tell you to. I mean, it doesn't force you to. I don't think they have a way to. That's the next version in AR or VR.
It's what it's going to say. It's going to say, because it's an online game, right? It's web based. Mm-hmm. Your IP address is here. We are watching you now. If you are not dancing,
right. We've turned on your cameras.
You. We know where you live.
We know.
Sleep with one eye open tonight. Yeah. You better dance.
So just because I want other people to experience this, we may do like a special like Discord only version of
Oh
this
boy.
gameplay sometime, just so everybody can get in there. So yet another reason to
Oh,
jump
this
in our
all looks
Discord.
tougher.
That'd be fun. And then I played a game called Goroons. This is another game that's so weird. It's like you have like these different purplish characters or whatever, and each of them that can only move in a certain way. And basically, you have to figure out which way to get all of the different characters. So one time it might be one screen, it might be like 3, might be 5 the next or whatever, and you have to get them from where they are on the screen to the end. But you can only click on certain ones and use their different powers to get them all kind of lemmings, but they don't move automatically, I guess. So that kind of a style of game. So it's okay, like, but it got boring and whatever after like a couple rounds, and I just didn't want to go back to it. So, but yeah, I played those, and I also played a couple other games that I forgot that I played. Hyper 5, for whatever reason, I subjected myself back to that game again for about 5 minutes and remembered, oh, I played this and I didn't like it. And also a game called In, which again I talked about on a previous podcast, but yeah, you control these blocks and you move them and try to get them to the goal as well, and you have to figure it out. And it's probably, of all of them, it's the most fun I had with any of those games. But it's not going to be for everybody. But it's a little puzzle game that is, for the most part, pretty relaxing as well. But it's yet another game similar to the Garoons, where you have these blocks, but you have to get them to the goal in each screen as well. But In does it better, I think. So that's the games I've been playing, but also got a chance to watch the Zelda special for Critical Role. And yeah, I watched most of that. I need to go back and finish the rest of it, but it is available on Critical Role's channel on YouTube as well. So if you missed it, you can go back and watch it. I believe it's around 5 hours. So lots of gameplay there, but it was fun to because they totally themed it within Tears of the Kingdom. And so they were basically these 5 characters that were different species of characters within the game, and they all came together and they were trying to go on this adventure to like check out what's going on in Hyrule, because all these things are happening and the castle is raising out of the sky and what's going on and all these different things. And so they were going on adventures, and it was fun, and it was cool, like that it was so rooted within Tears of the Kingdom that it was I knew what they were talking about, and it was cool how they integrated how like it was Dungeons and Dragons like style of a game, but they integrated like the different fusing of weapons together, or even food to regain your health, and all those different things were totally infused within the game itself that they were playing. So that was really fun to go through. So yeah, if you missed it, you can go back and check out Critical Role's YouTube channel to watch it and enjoy it. And yeah, it's really fun, especially if you like that kind of like tabletop RPG like sort of experience like D&D, and you're a Zelda fan. I do recommend checking out Critical Role. So, but yeah, you said you didn't get a chance to watch it yet, Barry?
No, and it's like 5 hours long, so
Yeah.
I don't know if I will get the chance.
Yeah.
But I'm glad to hear that it went well, and hopefully everyone that did watch it enjoyed it. I do have a quick question for you regarding Zelda, because we kind of did some spoilery stuff, and it's
Mm-hmm.
3 weeks now, so I feel this really won't be much of a spoiler. I'm just kind of curious. The first dungeon you did was the wind dungeon,
Yep.
which is my first dungeon as well. And I've been asking people this just to see the first boss, the boss of the dungeon. How did you defeat it? Like, what method did you use? Curious.
Well, arrows. But mostly, yeah, I was shooting it like I dodge enough, and then when the area that shot the spikes up, like when it started shooting, I'd dodge enough to glide in there closer and then shoot it with arrows. If I was too far away, I'd add some key swings to make them fly further, but that's pretty much all I did. I ate some food that like gave me more power in cold weather sometimes, But yeah, I was just dodging, shooting the arrows, dodging, shooting the arrows.
See, it's interesting that that's a lot of people I've talked with did that.
Hmm.
I didn't because that was my first boss as well. I never even thought of arrows. I instinctively was like, oh, we're doing this, and I dove right through it
Did
and
you
broke through.
really?
And that's how I beat it. I didn't use a single arrow. I just dove right through every single time and
So is
crashed
it like
through.
an ice thing, like the other times where you jump on the ice and it breaks through?
It breaks through, but if you dive, it just goes one shot, just right through. There's
Oh,
no
so you didn't have
crack.
to use a weapon at all.
No, not a weapon. I didn't use a single weapon the
Oh,
whole time. I would just dodge around and then I would
nice.
just dive down.
I couldn't get that close though. Like I was always quite a distance away. Like I
Well, I
wasn't
dove
able to
down a
get
bit and then
close
I would
enough.
glide a little and dive down until I
Okay.
got I eased myself into position and then I just like a
Yeah.
bullet.
That's so funny. Yeah, I didn't even think about getting that close. I was like, I want to get close enough and I'm gonna start launching arrows at it.
Yeah. Yeah, so it's like I love that because that's usually people's first boss, and it's interesting to see which method people use because both are valid, both work.
Yeah.
I love that the game gives you multiple ways to defeat,
Yeah.
but it's funny because I didn't think my friends like, oh yeah, they're like my brother used arrows, but I did it the cool way. Did you do it the cool way? I'm like, what dove through? It was like, yeah. I'm like, yeah, that's what I did. And I
That's
was like,
funny.
screw this.
I might have to try that at some point. I do like even some of the shrines. Like I had to look up. There's a couple of them that I had to look up, and I was in the middle. I was like, I can figure this out, but I don't really have the time to figure it
Mhm.
out. So I looked through a walkthrough of one of them, and I was like, I don't know, already about halfway through. It was a longer one, and there was one that had a where you were moving this ball, and you had to get it
Mhm.
into a hole before it unlock something else. And there was one up top. It was like on the third or fourth level. And you're supposed to put the ball there, and then it was supposed to unlock something else. And then eventually you take the ball to the next one. I was like, why do I even have to do that? I can just totally skip that and go on to the next because I just was able to raise the ball up higher and get it on the next platform and then just jump up. And so I think that's kind of cool too, just like a simple way of showing that there are multiple ways of even beating shrines. You don't have
Yeah,
to
yeah.
do it like the exact way, like you said too, like you can attach a rocket to a shield sometimes if it has, the thing you can jump over. But there's almost always it seems like there's at least two different ways of beating a lot of things, maybe even more.
Yeah, I love that because it allows the player to figure things out and decide. And sometimes the game is designed like the shrines are designed. Like yeah, the first puzzle is always like, here's the theme of this shrine, and then the second puzzle is a little more challenging. The third puzzle puts you to the test. But a lot of times when I would do the first puzzle, I would take what I used and drag it with me.
Mm,
And so I wound up with like extras
yep.
of things, and like there was a lot of times that overcomplicated what I
Yep.
built because I had extras. Like, oh,
I'm the
I could
same
use
way.
this,
Yeah.
and like I still made it work, and I'm like, I love
Yeah.
that they allowed you to do that.
Yep. Yep. I'm totally the same way. Yeah, there's one in my mind that you had to go through, and I think it was ice or something, and you had to drag it, and I totally dragged everything I built back with me across the thing and was like, I don't know, I might need it, so everything's coming with me. And
Yeah,
yeah, of course I build something that's way overcomplicated.
it's like the signs, like so many times, I started to build more simple things, but like the first few, I built like so many complicated things. I
Yep.
built like this armor around the sign, like this thing's not going anywhere ever,
Yeah.
and no one's ever seeing what it
Yeah.
says.
Yeah. Yeah. As so far for the signs, I'm far from doing all of them, but you basically have to build the same thing every time.
No, it changes
Okay, eventually
vastly.
it changes. Okay,
Oh,
good.
there's very different signs.
Okay,
Yeah,
so I've
I
only
don't.
done the ones that basically look the same build every
Same.
time.
Oh no, there's different. I don't know if I've done them all. I probably haven't. I don't think there's no check mark on the map to say you
Oh,
did
okay.
them. I don't think there's a reward for doing them all. I could be wrong. Um, I was like, a lot of times there's rewards like disguise, not disguise, but like kind of like nested in.
Mm,
Like I was going for all the cloths, and I got all the cloths. I checked the guides. I'm like, here's all the cloths, and then I did two quests that wound up giving me cloths afterwards. I'm like,
hmm,
oh, like here's extra cloths that even the guide that I was using didn't have because they were nested rewards, and I
Yeah.
guess they didn't have figure it out yet. So I'm like, maybe now I have all the cloths. Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't know.
Nice. Nice. I have not found the auto build yet. And
Okay.
and it was funny, like, so last podcast, I'm pretty sure I did not have the um the what's it called, the glider thing yet. I
The
don't
hang
think
glider?
I don't think Greg or I had found the glider, which is really funny because it was like right there, like I was right
Yeah.
there. All I had to do was like talk to someone, and I was like, why did it take me forever to find this? Because I kept getting distracted and was chasing squirrels on the side and
Yeah.
forgot to get back to the main quest.
I was talking with Greg. He did get the auto build much earlier than I did.
Okay.
And when I was talking about it last time, there is a favorite system. I went back and did see it. Like you can actually mark and favorite your
Okay.
final design. So they did put that there. I didn't see it, but in the last recording, I hadn't noticed it. So there's at least that. They did do that, which is good. But still, it's interesting. I was 60 hours in before I found it. You're 40 hours in and you haven't found it yet.
Mhm.
And Greg, I don't know how many hours he's in, but he found it pretty soon after the podcast.
Hmm.
And a lot of people found it early. But it's completely, and I'm not going to say where it is, but it's completely missable. When you finally get it, you'll be like, oh my God, how did I not
Yeah.
get this?
Yeah, instead I've been doing a bunch of things that I think I'm supposed to do way down the road, but just like, you know what? If I find something, I'm gonna check it out. But I've given up on building cars, though. I am just taking horses everywhere, because the horses will stay there after I go into a shrine where everything else
Yeah,
is destroyed. So that's I get a horse, and
that's
I'm not registered my new Epona yet, so I just keep, like, every time I can just keep scanning that amiibo and get it back wherever I am. So that's nice.
Oh,
So,
that's nice. Yeah,
yeah,
I still have 3 opponents registered.
nice. As everybody needs 3 opponents. Well, let's move into this week's discussion about all the different news. And Barry, it's been an interesting couple weeks.
Yeah,
Well, we would normally, here we are at the beginning of June. And so we'd normally either be just about to get into E3 or talking about E3 and all the crazy announcements that we're thinking is going to happen, and all the, we've called it before multiple times, like Christmas in June and all this exciting things. And we're not getting it this year. We have Jeff Keighley's Summer Game Fest, but what we did get the other day on June 1st was Nintendo dropping a couple, they're weird announcements on their Twitter, of all places. And I didn't even get, I don't know if you got, but I didn't even get a press release for these things. They just kind of dropped it out there and that was it. So I didn't find it till later. I know you saw them pretty soon after they went out, I think, but I found them later. And yeah, the first one was a sequel to a game that no one really enjoyed. Everybody 1-2 Switch, not just 1-2 Switch, is Everybody 1-2 Switch is coming on June 30th. And also we found out they're going to be dropping new Joy-Cons at the end of the month as well. You're going to be able to get a purple, green, pink, or yellow pastel colors of Joy-Cons at the end of the month. And that's pretty much all that we know about them, is they're just new colors, and you'll be able to get them at the end of June. But Everybody 1-2 Switch, a game that no one really liked. Everybody, it's kind of just giant meme, and yet they're releasing a sequel to it. Now, the good thing, I guess, about this is the original game was like a full $50 game, right? But this one is
$60,
$30
I think.
or $60. Was it?
Might have been
Wow.
60.
So they've cut the price in half to $60, and they announced that you can pre-order it. But there's no gameplay trailer. All we have is this video, or this photo of the game itself, and then a weird screenshot of people playing some sort of game where it looks like they're either like pumping something or on a jackhammer. I don't know. Maybe they're riding a bicycle. Who knows? And then we got a little bit of a description. So I'm going to quickly read this description, and then we can talk about this and let's speculate a little bit about all of this. So it says, want a party? Break out the Nintendo Switch system and laugh it up at your next game night. Mix up your next get together with everybody 1-2 switch game. Grab some Joy-Con controllers or smart devices for team based games that are easy to set up and feature everything from balloons to aliens and more. People at your next party can get moving and show off their teamwork in this multiplayer mashup, a mix of games and modes to keep you on your toes. Use Joy-Con controllers or smart devices, team up, and let the games begin. Split into teams and see which group can win a certain number of games first. Mini games have several variations that change up the rules or add extra challenges. And that's about all we know. We know it's going to be about a 3.3 gigabyte game. I don't know how many players it's going to be. I don't know if it's going to be the same thing as before, but just now involving your smart devices. We know nothing about this game, but it is coming out very, very soon, available on June 30th, and supposedly it's going to liven up your next party. So, Barry, you ready to try out everybody 1-2 switch and liven up your next party?
This did come out of nowhere for me. Now, apparently there was an article written last June, and I read it afterwards, where someone says that this leaked, and they heard from testers that the game was done, and they did testing with testing groups, and it tested horrifically, that people hated it, that it was boring, that it was just bad. It was a game show with a host with a horse for a head, and it sounded absolutely insane. And they said there's no way they could see how they could put this to market. This is probably going to be shelved. This is probably going to be gone. And of course, that was last June. It was leaked. It was put in the rumor mill. And then this happens, and I look at the picture. I'm like, and then read the description. I'm like, oh my God, this is exactly what they were talking about in this article from last June. So I don't know, and I hope they've improved it in the last year. My guess is they probably put it on the shelf and said, well, we have nothing coming up. It's done. Let's just throw it out there and make it $30. So yeah, it's a thing. That notice there's no trailer on the website. There's only one picture outside of the cover art, and it's of two people looking like assholes. That's it. That's all we've got. We have nothing else to go with other than its description. Surprisingly, there's a physical, which we thought for a while was going to be exclusive to their website, but apparently it's up on GameStop as well. And I mean, I have it pre-ordered on their website, the physical. Uh, it's one of those things where it could be fun. I like Jackbox, but after reading that article, I'm kind of inclined to think it's not. And I
Yeah.
definitely did not expect. I mean, I've been calling for 1-2 Switch to be a pack-in forever. I did not expect of 1-2 Switch to get a sequel. And I saw this guy that did an infographic on Twitter. It's like Nintendo releases from 2017 that all got sequels. Zelda Breath of the Wild to Tears of the Kingdom, Xenoblade 2 to Xenoblade 3, Splatoon 2 to Splatoon 3, Mario and Rabbids Kingdom Battles to Sparks of Hope. And then we've got this. And 1-2 Switch gets one, but no Odyssey, no Arms. It's a Fire Emblem Warriors got a sequel to Three Hopes as well, was another one on that list. And it's like, really, this gets a sequel before Mario Odyssey and Arms. Like, it's like in Nintendo, you can't predict anything. They're just going to be kings of left field.
Yeah.
I guess this is their game for June. This tells me there's not going to be a direct this month, because this would have been something in the direct for sure. Same with the Joy-Con colors. They look great. The pastel look great. I just hate that they don't let you get the other half. Like, green is my favorite color, and purple is my wife's favorite color. And I showed her the green and purple, which come together, and she's like, I love that purple. I want the other half. And if they did the other half where the left was green, the right was purple, even if we had to buy both sets, it
Yeah.
would be great to get the matching, but you can't. And I
Right.
don't understand why Nintendo doesn't let you buy matching controllers. It seems like a no-brainer, and for to make people buy extra controllers, but they don't. And it's like, ugh, thanks.
Yeah.
This also feels like something that would come around Easter time. Like, I feel like they're like Easter colors,
Yeah.
and instead it's coming in June. So what do you know?
Yeah. It's so weird. Yeah, I've always been curious about that too, like the color thing. Like, why wouldn't they? I mean, they've done it with a couple colors, so you can get white ones with the OLED, and you can get the red ones together, like the Mario red ones,
The gray at the beginning too.
the gray ones. But the rest of them, that's it. Like they're all different colors. They're playing on the red and blue
You
of the
you
original one.
you can buy the opposite red and blue, and like some of them, like I got green and pink were the Joy Cons that came out, and in Japan they actually did release the opposites, but only in
Oh,
Japan, not in America. So I had to buy the Japanese versions to get the other half because they're the same controller.
yeah,
But it's like it's so stupid. Like
yeah,
let us like Xbox has like the controller factory, right? Where
mm-hmm,
you can design your own controller, go crazy. And they can easily do that with Joy-Cons.
yep,
Literally just create whatever color shell you want because that's the only difference. It's a color shell. They could do a website on it and
yep.
sell so many Joy-Cons, and instead they limit it in the way typical Nintendo fashion.
Yeah. Yeah. It's so weird. And here the big thing that I'm wondering too, and again, we're gonna have to speculate because we had no idea. But like Barry, I'm curious, like what do you think this means for Switch? Are we actually running to the end of its life cycle now and we are just Nintendo's just putting out the last minute things that they've shelved for a while because they got to get the rest of the clear it out before we launch into Switch 2 or Switch Pro, or are they just like we just in a bad season and there is good stuff coming? I mean, we have Metroid Prime 4 supposedly still coming. We have Pikmin that's supposed to be coming. We have some games that are bigger, but I don't know. What do you think?
I think next year is Switch 2. I think they don't want to announce anything now because it would cannibalize their holiday season. But they're not doing a June showcase because they don't have stuff to show. Nintendo likes to show things that are coming soon. They just launched Zelda. That was May, and the July or August is Pikmin 4. I forget. So there's nothing for June. Well, now there is. Everybody want to Switch. Let's throw it out there to die. It's Zelda. Zelda will overshadow it. Whatever. Look, we got a game. We put something out. I think that the back half of this year we might see a new game, but I think we're going to see more ports. Because if you look at this year, right, just look at 2023. Look at Nintendo's offerings. They've had 6 or 7 games. They've had Fire Emblem Engage. They had Kirby Return to Dreamland Deluxe. They had Bayonetta Origins. They had Xenoblade Chronicles 3, Future Redeemed. They had uh, Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. They've got Everybody Want to Switch and Pikmin 4 on the way. And there might be a game I'm missing. Oh, Advance Wars 1 and 2. So they've had 6 games out thus far, with another 2 announced. Now, of those 6 games, Fire Emblem Engage, Xenoblade Chronicles 3, Definitive Edition, and or not Definitive, Future Redeemed, and Zelda Tears of the Kingdom are all brand new games to established IP. Oh, and Bayonetta Origins as well. So 4 of those games are brand new. Then you got Kirby Return to Dreamland, which is a Wii port, enhanced, but a Wii port. Advanced Wars 1 and 2, which is a DS or a GBA enhanced port. So you already have 2/3 of their games are ports for this small amount of time. Going forward, Everybody Want to Switch and Pikmin 4 are brand new sequels. Great, but I can see them easily saying, let's throw some more ports. Yes, you still had DLC. This is a year of DLC in addition to Xenoblade 3. You had Fire Emblem Engage, had DLC. That's all out now. So Fire Emblem Engage DLC is all out. You have Splatoon 3. The second pack is still coming. And you got Pokemon DLC. I think the second pack is still coming. And Mario Kart 8. There's 2 more packs left. That's it. Like the DLC packs in 2 games for the rest of the year is no. And one of those games is Everybody Want to Switch. No.
Yep.
So there's either some brand new game coming, hopefully a Mario game, uh, or it's going to be ports. What ports? They could do the Zelda ports we've been waiting for, Twilight Princess and Wind Waker. But is that too close to Tears of the Kingdom? Like I feel like that should have been last year.
Yeah.
Xenoblade Chronicles X is a big one, but again, they just did 3 and Future Redeemed. Is that too close? they could do Star Fox Zero reworked, but that's a lot of work. Are they going to do that?
Yeah,
Or we're seeing Wii ports. We're going to see GameCube. Metroid. Oh, that's right. Metroid Prime Remaster came out this year, so 7 games, but
it's
that's
true.
another port. So
It's
that's
true.
4 brand new ones and 3
Yeah,
ports,
and we could see 2
or
and 3,
or or enhanced. So
for
we could see
Metroid
2 or
Prime. So yeah.
3. So that's another thing. But my point is
Hmm.
so many of the games released already are actually either remakes or ports or
Yeah.
enhanced versions of older games. And Metroid Prime is GameCube. So, and there's the rumor Mario Party or Paper Mario, I mean,
Mm.
Thousand Year Door remake. So that fits into the bill as another enhanced port from the GameCube era. So are we going to see that? Are they going to be like, let's save all creativity to blow people away for Switch 2 at this point, and everything we're putting out is either going to be Switch 2 and Switch, or it's going to be enhanced remakes or ports of games to kind of fill and pad until we get there.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm with you, because I think, I mean, we just haven't seen anything. And normally, I mean, typically, I think if I'm remembering correctly, when Nintendo doesn't show anything, it's either because they just don't have anything, or they are holding their cards close to the chest because they've got something big to announce. And
Yep.
I'm skeptical about the big thing. Like, I just don't think it's going to happen. So they really just don't have. They're getting the rest of it out, clearing the shelves for what's coming next. And
Well,
yeah, I think like it's
look at this, right? GQ did an article. GQ magazine did an article for top games of all time. The number one game on their list, for example, was Breath of the Wild. Best game of all time. Tears of the Kingdom is getting better reviews than Breath of the Wild, called better than Breath of the Wild. So if you release a game that is better than the best game of all time, according to a lot of sources, anything else you put out is going to instantly be in that shadow. Now, usually they save those games for the holiday, so they build up into it. But now we've got that game in May. Everything
yeah.
before that was a lead into Advance Wars, Metroid, Xenoblade, Fire Emblem, Bayonetta. Those are all Kirby. Those all led into it. But after, on the other half, in the shadow of Tears of the Kingdom, we've got 1-2 Switch and Pikmin, and that's it.
Hmm.
So, do we really want to say, here's the next big game in the shadow of the sequel to the
Right.
best game of all time for a lot of people? And the answer to me is no.
Yeah.
You really don't. Look
Yeah.
at 2017, right? We had Breath of the Wild, Mario Odyssey, Xenoblade 2, Splatoon 2, ARMS, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. They cannibalized each other.
Hmm.
So many sites gave praise to Breath of the Wild, and naturally so, we did it ourselves.
Hmm.
And that overshadowed Odyssey, that overshadowed Xenoblade, that overshadowed Splatoon. When if those games were released in another year, even in 2018, they would have been heralded as Game of the Year.
Sure.
So they doesn't sound
Yeah.
like they want to repeat that mistake. And I
Mm.
think Tears of the Kingdom was supposed to come out last year because there was an article where they talked with Eiji Aonuma that said the game's been done for a year and the last year has just been quality control and polish.
Hmm.
So they probably expected the game to be done last year and released last year, which is maybe why we didn't get those Zelda Wii U ports.
Yeah.
And this year, those Zelda Wii U ports with something else big. But because Tears of the Kingdom was delayed, that might have shifted everything over.
Yeah.
And
Good.
and
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, and with that in mind, I mean, clearly everybody won to Switch. No one's going to care. They're just getting this out there because it's done, and they've got to, honor the people that made it, and like, it's going to send it out to die, essentially. But I think, like, my thought goes also to Pikmin. I mean, I'm sure that's going to be a phenomenal game, but is it going to potentially be in the shadow coming out this close? Should they actually delay it for the sake of it getting its own spotlight a little bit later? Not that I want it to be delayed, but would that make sense, if especially if they don't really have much to push them into the holiday season in terms of new games? If it's all going to be, re-releases and enhanced ports and things like that the rest of the year, would it make sense to push Pikmin even back to September? or something like that, and just give it a little more spotlight on how cool that game is going to be, so it's not in the shadow of Tears of the Kingdom.
That's something that is possible. I mean, I don't know if they want to push it, but
Right.
it is coming out closely to Tears of the Kingdom, and they know, whatever's put out. If there was a big stink about Tears of the Kingdom being $70, so if someone says, "Well, I only have enough money for one game," Tears of the Kingdom's going to get it. That's why they were really smart with the voucher thing for the digital people to
Yep.
try and say like, "Oh, get Tears of the Kingdom," but now you can get Pikmin. You can still
Yep.
get Pikmin, but that leaves zero spot for any other game.
Mm-hmm.
And if Nintendo says we're not going to put out a game in September, October, November, December, or even August, if Pikmin is July, I forget, it might be August. But and then if it's August, nothing for July. So
Mm-hmm.
you're talking 5 full months of nothing. And that being the holiday season and the potential last holiday season for the Switch without any competition from Nintendo themselves.
Mm-hmm.
uh, I don't see that happening. I don't see them doing that. I think that's suicide.
Yeah.
If we go the whole rest of the year without a Nintendo Direct and without announcements, without something to play this holiday, it, people are going to notice. That means for sure there's a new system. But
Yeah.
they've only done that when the previous system has done poorly.
Yeah.
They start moving things over. Even the Wii, yes, the last year of the Wii or so was slower because they were gearing up for the Wii U, but we still, at least in America, we got like Xenoblade during that time. The Operation Rainfall games came over. We got, I think Kirby Return to Dreamland was one of those later release games. We still got something.
Yeah.
And if we don't get anything, that's 2016 all over again
Right.
in a 5 month period.
Yeah. Well, I think it's a really interesting too. Like, we've not seen a price drop either, like this entire time. And I don't know, has that ever happened before? Like the majority of their life cycle. And I don't even see them, even if they come out with a Switch 2 or Switch Pro, they have no reason to drop that price unless they just want to be nice because they're still flying off the shelves. And so like they'll need to eventually drop it to keep that going after the new system comes out because people will not want to buy the old one anymore. But I almost kind of like, it's weird to like not see it drop prior to a new announcement. It's probably going to happen when the next one comes out, and that's it.
The only price drop I think that happened with the Switch was the standard model went, I think it lost like $50 when the OLED came out. I could be wrong, but I think
Did it? I
it
don't
might
remember
it
that. I
might
think it's
have
been at 299 the
it
entire
might be
time.
it might be 299. Yeah. Um it's one of those things where you're only going to see a price drop when it needs to push units and the Switch is selling too much.
Yeah.
They don't need to. Now, if there's a Switch 2, I can see a price drop on the Switch. If they keep the Switch around, I think they're going to keep the Switch around, at least the Switch Lite, but I could be completely wrong, and it could be like Switch is discontinued and we're just doing Super Switch or Switch 2
Hmm.
or whatever they're going to call it. Uh, but yeah, they haven't really needed. I mean, look, they've run the same crappy Black Friday special bundle for years, and they
Yep.
added 3 months of NSO. Yay! Um, and I think when they did the 2.0 version, with the extended battery life, that Black Friday was still the original versions because they had leftover.
Yep.
So it wasn't even the new battery life one that they were getting rid of.
Yeah.
They did it as cheap as possible because they didn't need to. I mean, I still think 1-2 Switch should have at least been thrown in, but they did it. They didn't need to. The Switch is selling, and a
Yep.
lot of people don't understand. Like, why don't Nintendo games go on sale? Why should they? Why do EA games go on sale? Because EA puts a million games out there, and they put them out, and the first initial week or two they get their big sales, and then the sales dip. And they dip so hard that they put them on sale to rejuvenate interest in their games. Nintendo games keep that interest. They don't wane. They may not be as high as launch week, but they don't wane to the point that it's, oh my God, we need to do something. And when it does, it's only like $10 discount and it goes right back up because
Yep.
Nintendo games are always worth playing.
Yep. Yep. Unless you're Ubisoft, because they just don't like making money for some reason.
Yeah.
It's like clockwork. They'll drop a, even when it's like, amazing game of the year talk, and then they're like, yeah, we're gonna drop that down to $30. people don't want to give us or we don't want to accept people's money anymore.
It's the same thing with Ubisoft though. The game comes out and it sells
Yeah.
initially, and then the drop.
Yeah.
It's like if you look at a movie, right? The opening weekend it does gangbuster, and then they talk about the second week drop and the percentage of drop because it very I think maybe once or twice it's gone up, but usually
Mm-hmm.
it drops because the people who really wanted to see it saw it
Yep.
opening weekend, and
Yep.
then the people who want to see it but don't want to see it with the crowds see it the second weekend, and then it progressively goes lower. It's the same with game sales, except Nintendo, it doesn't dip that much. It
Mm-hmm.
stays up. Tears of the Kingdom is going to be selling for years. Like,
Yep.
if you're like, oh, well, what about in October? It's not going to be selling like that. Sure, it is. People are going to be buying it for the holidays.
Yep.
People who don't get it at launch, who want it, kids who want it,
Mm-hmm.
people who maybe they can't afford it and they're waiting for a gift card, or they're hoping they get it for Christmas themselves, have asked for it on their list, then people are buying it for them. So it's going to absolutely sell perfectly fine. There's zero reason for it to drop. It's the fastest selling Zelda game. It sold over 10 million copies in 3 days. It's not going to keep that rate, but it's not going to drop enough that Nintendo's going to be like, "Oh, we got to make it $20 now."
Right.
Sorry, it's not happening, and it doesn't happen with Nintendo. And when it does, that's when they used to do the player's choice or the Nintendo Selects, and they would rebrand it and they would put it at $20, and they would sell a gangbuster load more.
Yep. Yep. Well, let us know in the comments, especially here on YouTube, if you have any desire to play Everybody 1-2 Switch. We'd love to know. Maybe there's a handful of people out there that want to check out this game. I'm interested, Barry. You're going to definitely have to open that copy when you get it, because I want to know how it is. I want to know what your experience is like, and where we may even have to, put a camera in front of you and you experience this game and and see what it's like with your new pastel Joy-Cons as well.
Oh,
But
I didn't order them because I can't get the other color of
that's
purple.
true. Yeah. But let's move in. One other big story that we want to talk about, or bigger story, we want to talk about the XSeed had their Marvelous Game Showcase. So, Barry, tell us a little bit about what games were talked about and shown off during this event.
Yeah, so Marvelous, which XSeed, the same company, put out a showcase for the summer, and again, this is E3 season, right? So we're even though E3 is not happening, we're seeing all these companies start doing their showcases around this time period, which is great to see. So they started off talking about 3 games that are coming out soon. They were already announced. The first one is Loop 8: Summer of Gods. That one is coming June 6th, so literally a day away from you guys seeing this, 2 days away from our recording. And they talked also about the brand new Story of Seasons, which is coming out soon, as well as Rune Factory 3 Special, which is also coming out soon. I mean, then they started getting into new announcements. So the first one they talked about was a game called Fashion Dreamer, and this is literally it's debuting on the Switch in North America. It's like you get to play as a fashion model, you get to dress things up. There's social elements. It's a very casual game targeted towards the female demographic. But it looks really interesting how they're bringing all this in. It's not like a shovelware type thing. They're really putting their heart and soul into this. So if that's something that interests you, definitely check that out. Or if you have kids, this definitely looks like one of those titles to go for. Then they showed off Project Magia. This is there's no name yet. It's upcoming. It's built around the theme of a new frontier. It's like almost like a RPG style game. They really didn't show much other than the illustrator and writer for Fairy Tale is working with them, and it looks really cool. It looks like this brand new style of game that they haven't done before. Like this is their big home run game, but was really early on. Then another project game that's in development called Life is RPG, talking about how life in general is, in essence, a role playing game. And it's built around all the things that RPG fans love, but almost adapting it into real life, so real life situations. It looks cool from the very, very early stuff, but again, this is still very early. Then talking about Story of Seasons, which if you don't know already is the old Harvest Moon. So if you grew up playing Harvest Moon games, the new Harvest Moons are not Harvest Moons. Story of Seasons is Harvest Moon now. So this new game is the central theme is experiences. They're really trying to bring all the elements that people love about Story of Seasons into an ambitious new title, and it's about playing with other people now. So it's more socially involved. Think about like Animal Crossing, but on a grander level. Then talking about another series that's really true to my heart, Rune Factory. Fell in love with Rune Factory, and Rune Factory is cool because that not only do we have Rune Factory 3 coming, but they showed off what they're calling the theme of East and West. So for the West, which is more fantasy based, which is what Rune Factory's been about, we've got Rune Factory 6, which is coming in development. It's on the western continent of Adania, and that is coming soon. And it so far looks fantastic. But to blow everybody away, the East part is a brand new game called Project Dragon. And this game looks like Breath of the Wild. Like it looks like Zelda meets Rune Factory, which because Rune Factory kind of had a lot of RPG or Zelda elements beforehand. And this the art style is beautiful. The trailer is gorgeous. It's got dragons. It's got samurai. It's like I'm really intrigued by this, and it's still early, but we'll have to see. And then out of nowhere, their final announcement was a sequel to a game that Nintendo themselves published, which came out of nowhere. Demon X Machina is getting a sequel called Titanic Scion. This we don't really know much. It's just a really teaser trailer. But I personally like Demon X Machina. I know it didn't do as well, unfortunately. I don't know if this is going to be Switch exclusive. I don't know if they're working with Nintendo again. But there's a mech game, very anime style. Open area was the first game. This one hopefully is even better. But I guess we'll see. But Steve, did you get a chance to watch this and see all these announcements?
Yeah, I did, and I it was so funny that as you were going through the list, I was like, okay, good. I'm glad I wasn't the only one that thought we didn't see anything, and they didn't say anything. Like they showed off a little bit of each of these games, and they talked like, yeah, this is going to be a great game, and it looks great, and it's going to be really fun, and yet I know nothing about it. And so like it was just like teases throughout the entire thing, not the whole thing, because the very beginning, I mean, we got games like Fashion Dreamer, which they showed off a ton of that game, and it is not my thing whatsoever. It's not made for me. But for the people that's made for, it looks like it's very well developed and this huge project and everything, but it's not for me. And so the games that we saw more of were not my style. I wanted to know more about these other games, and they showed me very, very little, and they told me very, very little, and I was just like left wanting the entire time. I'm like, I want to know what this whole Project Life as RPG thing is all about. You told me nothing. I want to know like more about Demon X Machina. That came out of nowhere. Like, let me know. Like, show me something. And yet, I was left in this whole thing. I think one of the ones that surprised me a lot was the Rune Factory Project Dragon, because I've never been drawn to the other Rune Factory games because they are a little more casual kind of style and everything. But also, all of a sudden, Project Dragon comes in. I'm like, now we're talking. This is action based, like you said. It's like Zelda kind of style and everything. I'm like, maybe I actually might finally play a Rune Factory game. So that's cool because it does incorporate the RPG stuff, but it's not like the central focus of the game. Similar to a Zelda game where I don't mind RPG elements, but I don't want. It's not my style to just play a full on RPG anymore. I want an action RPG, and that's basically what this kind of seems like it is. And so, yeah, I can't believe that I'm actually interested in a Rune Factory game, which is like shocking to hear me say it out loud. The other game that I think just it blew me away when they started showing off Loop 8 at the very beginning. I'm like, I think XSeed Marvelous has this way of, and and they talk about it as well, but they just have this way of bringing anime to video games. It just like seems like you're playing an anime. And I think that's really cool, especially for people that really enjoy that. It's not my style, it's not my thing or whatever, but man, for people that really enjoy it, they do it very, very well. And it's really cool to see them really crossing those different mediums and being able to pull it off well. So yeah, like I feel like Project Dragon is probably the thing that I'm most excited about, just because I saw a little bit more of it. These other games I could be excited about, but I really know like next to nothing about them. And so they could be really cool. They probably will
I
be.
agree with you there. Project Dragon definitely for me was the highlight. Like that looked amazing. I'm already sold on Rune Factory 6 because I started playing the series in Rune Factory 4 special, even though I owned the others, and I fell in love with it and I enjoyed 5, and I'm looking forward to 3 special. Because like I love that sprite base, but I like Harvestella. Like you saying you're excited about Rune Factory, but you loved Harvestella playing that.
Mhm.
This Harvestella is honestly Square Enix's Rune Factory. So
Yeah.
if you like Harvestella, you will absolutely like Rune Factory. Just it deals with dragons and stuff like that. And I'm excited to see where they go. Story of Seasons. I wish I had the time to go through those again because I loved Harvest Moon, Harvest Moon 64, Harvest Moon GB, A Wonderful Life. I had so much fun with those games, and they just keep getting better. And I probably will jump into one of them at one point when I have the time, and maybe with the kid, I'll be like, this would be a nice, good game to do. But Rune Factory also scratches that itch because it does have the farming elements. Um, the Life is an RPG. I'm really excited to see more of it. Same with Magia and Demon X Machina. I didn't. I talk about sequels
Yeah.
that came out of nowhere, like 1-2 Switch. Well, Demon X Machina getting a sequel also came out of nowhere, and like I was always confused. Like, is that a Nintendo owned IP? Because they
Right.
did actually publish it in America. Like, do they own that? Is it it's always weird with publishing, who owns the actual IP. So I don't know. I guess they don't, and Xseed actually owns it. Well, I want to know, are they going to work with Nintendo again? Is this one going to be a Nintendo exclusive? Granted, Demon X Machina did eventually go to PC, but that was after so much time, and Nintendo probably gave them the okay.
Hmm.
So I guess we'll see. But potentially could be another Nintendo IP right there.
Yeah. Yeah, that's very true. And yeah, I that was I did I wasn't completely surprised because I did look at the list. Like I watched it after the fact and I saw in the headline that they had mentioned Demon X Machina, so I wasn't like completely surprised when they showed it off at the very end. But yeah, it took me for a second. I was like, wait a second, isn't that Nintendo? I'm so confused right now at what's going on. I'm glad this is happening, but I'm kind of confused on what is going on behind the scenes. Not that I need to know all that, but as someone like us that talk about that kind of stuff, I was like, who is behind all this IP and what's going on
Well,
here?
they made the first one. It's just
Hmm.
some it depends on the publisher contract because some games the developer gets to retain. For example, Bravely Default, Bravely Second, Bravely Default 2, Octopath Traveler, Octopath Traveler 2 were all published by Nintendo in America for the Switch and in Europe. And everywhere in the West, Nintendo actually published it. In Japan, Square Enix published those games.
Mm.
Now, of those games, Octopath Traveler 2 did go. Octopath Traveler 2, actually, I stand corrected, was not published by Nintendo in the West, because that did go to PlayStation on launch day as
Oh
well. That
yeah,
was published
yeah.
by Square. But those games eventually found their way onto like Steam and stuff like that because Nintendo doesn't own those IP. They just own the publishing rights for the Switch versions or the 3DS versions of those games in the West. And they probably have some kind of deal like, look, we'll pay for it, we'll publish it, but you have to stay exclusive. And they have a good relationship, so they're doing that. Maybe with Octopath 2, they're like, you know what, we want to bring this and bring it out there. And Nintendo was just like, okay, you're still bringing it to the Switch, so go for it. They want to keep that good relationship.
Hmm.
Whereas a title like Bayonetta, where it's made by Platinum, but Platinum doesn't own the IP. Astral Chain, if there's an Astral Chain 2, Platinum doesn't own that IP. Nintendo does. So technically, Nintendo can go to next level games and go make Astral Chain 2, and Platinum can get say in it. Obviously, due to relations, they probably wouldn't do that. But it's always interesting when you see publisher doesn't always equal owner of IP,
Right.
and developer doesn't always equal owner of IP. And sometimes there's a third party in the middle, which is really weird.
Yep. Yep. That's true. Well, some of these games, a couple of them, like the ones we know about already, and then those are coming out soon. The rest of them are just in development, so they'll come out
Development.
at some point.
Loop 8, I heard really good things about too. It's a time travel
Yeah,
style, or RPG visual novel style, and I like those. So it's like,
yeah.
ooh, I need.
So just to clarify, because I'm not curious, and I know some people are going to wonder if they don't know, is it a sequel or is it just called Loop 8? It's not like the
Oh,
eighth version of
it's not
Loop
the eighth
games.
one.
Yeah,
It's about like looping 8
8 times.
times
Okay.
to see it. Now
Yeah.
I thought there might have been another one prior to, like a standard Loop 8, and I think this
Okay.
might be the sequel to that game.
Okay.
But
But there's not
it
like a
is
Loop 1 through 7.
no,
No.
no, no, no. It's just about the looping. It's like Octopath Traveler. There's
Right.
not 7 other things. It's about the 8 travelers.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, this is not in that regards. And I don't think it's a sequel. Like I said, if it is a sequel, I think you could just do it standalone. I think you could just go to it. But it's just about doing a series of events and then going back to the start
Hmm.
and doing it a different way
Hmm.
8 times
That's
and
cool.
seeing how things change.
Yeah, that's cool. That's that's a game that I don't know if I'll play it, but it was very interesting to me. And that was they opened with it, and I think they did a great job as well. And that was when all of a sudden I was just sitting back in awe going, man, they know how to bring anime to a video game style. This is amazing. Like I feel like that's what I'm watching right now, and the fact that you can play this is really cool. So again, I don't know if I'll play it myself, but I was impressed just by watching the gameplay and hearing about it for sure. Well, let's move into a few headlines before we move into the latter part of our episode this day. This episode of 273. But yeah, Barry, you want to kick us off? We got 3 different headlines we want you to know about. Unfortunately, one of them is not so great, and that's one we're going to kick off with.
Yeah, so unfortunately some studios for whatever reason don't last, and here we have Vanpool. The unfortunate thing, Vanpool is a developer behind Dillinger and Western, among other things. They have announced that they will be closing down. They will be dissolved as of May 31st, so they are already dissolved. They did Dillinger and Western series in the 3DS. They also worked with HAL on Super Kirby Clash, Kirby Fighters 2, Kirby and the Forgotten Land, and Kirby Return to Dreamland Deluxe. They were founded way back in '99. They worked with Mario and Luigi Superstar Saga and freshly picked Tingle's Rosy Roseland, which never came here, as well as the Japanese exclusive sequel. We don't know why they closed. They worked with Nintendo exclusively, so hopefully those talented developers are brought into Nintendo first, like brought in house, and they're not out of jobs. But it's always sad to see a studio close, especially one tied with Nintendo.
Yep. Yep. Well, talking about summer and the E3 season of what used to be E3 and Summer Game Fest and all those different things that happen, we're getting a Ubisoft Forward event on June 12th, starting at 10 a.m. Pacific time or 7 p.m. Central time. That doesn't sound right at all. That must be a
No,
completely different.
that's not Central.
That's
That's
not
Central
Central.
European.
That is Central Europe. As I'm looking at that, like that's not how we write that. So we'll just go with 10 a.m. Pacific time, and you can figure out everything else 7 p.m. Central European Standard Time, because I don't know all the different ones all in between those. But yeah, we're going to be looking at that live stream event is going to have feature exclusive look at upcoming Ubisoft games, including Assassin's Creed Mirage, Avatar Frontiers of Pandora, The Crew, Motorfest, and more. And I'm guessing we'll probably see some final DLC information about the latest Mario and Rabbids game. But that's just some speculation.
And to continue on with the what would be E3 season. Another direct is happening this time from our good friends over at Devolver Digital. They always put out some really funny, crazy, out there directs while announcing some really cool games. And that hopefully this year is the same. Devolver Direct, The Return of Volvi is happening June 8th at 3 p.m. Pacific time. That is 6 p.m. Eastern. Whatever it is, Central European. You'll have to look that up. So I guess we will see. This is also part of Summer Game Fest, which seems to be taking the spot of E3 this year in its entirety, really.
Nice. Yeah, I was going to ask and see if you knew what that was in Central European time or any of these other time zones that I don't know about, because I'm such an ethnocentric American that only knows the time zones here in America. It's like, I'll admit it, I don't even know what they're called in other parts of the world. I'm so oblivious to all that. I mean, I'm still trying to figure out the 6 major time zones or the 4 major ones and the other 2 in America, let alone the other ones around the world, especially those ones that are like 30 minutes off from the rest of the world. I'm like, how do you
Yeah,
even figure that out? Like, I don't know.
those are weird.
Yeah, for me, I think it's always exciting to see Ubisoft and what they're putting out. Devolver is just always funny. I don't even care what they're putting out. I just want to see their event and see how crazy it's going to be. But yeah, it's unfortunate that Vanpool Studio closed as well. Like, they've worked on some really solid games over the years, so I hopefully the publishers there, or the developers there, and coders and everybody that's involved in all that, hopefully have found some good other places to go to continue working if they choose to do that, because they seems like they had some great talent there. It's unfortunate that they had to dissolve, but wish them the best, and hopefully maybe better in the long run. Barry, what do you think?
Yeah, the Van Pool thing is sad. It's one of those cases where it's like, Nintendo, why don't you just bring them in? Like,
Mm-hmm.
they've worked with you since '99. You're talking 24 years, and they've worked on major IP with Mario and brand new IPs, Kirby, as well. Like, just bring them in. They're already like part of your family. Like, why? And Return to Dreamland Deluxe just came out in February, so it's not like they really haven't done anything lately. They've worked on a very, very recent game. So I hope we don't know the details, so I hope they were just absorbed.
Yeah,
And they're in house now, but I guess we shall see. And I definitely look forward to Devolver. I love how crazy and insane and their things are. And it's like it's one big narrative. So like I care about the games, but it's almost like when I used to watch Beavis and Butthead, and they would start doing the music videos, and I would be like, I don't care. Go back to the
right.
cartoon. I want to see what happens. It's almost like that. It's like, I don't care about the game right now. Go back to the show. I want to see how crazy you are. I'll watch the
Yeah,
trailers later.
yeah,
And Ubisoft forward, those are always hit or miss for me. I feel like Ubisoft doesn't understand pacing. There's been shows where they're like, we're going to show Rainbow Six for like 30 minutes before talking about anything else. I'm like, I don't care about Rainbow Six. I don't let me sit here for 30 minutes. Give me 5 minutes of Rainbow Six, 6 minutes of Rainbow Six, whatever, and then move on. And then after your showcase, say, if you want to see an extended look, we're going to show you an extended look, because there's other titles that are out there. Like, what about the Prince of Persia remake, Sands of Time remake? Is that still happening? And Beyond Good and Evil 2, will we finally get to see that? And of course, like you mentioned, Sparks of Hope DLC with Rayman. Will we see more information there? Maybe Starlink 2. Who knows? We're seeing some unexpected sequels. Let's make it happen.
that's true.
So I guess we'll find out. So hopefully they have a good show.
Yeah, yeah. Maybe that's what Nintendo is doing. They're just leaning into third parties instead, and they're just
Yep.
like putting out there, and we'll have the new Star Fox and Starlink. Yeah, I'm with you with the. It's funny because I think the Ubisoft and the Devolver Digital show, and I think what you said as well, is like they're completely opposites. Like, Ubisoft, I want to see their games. Stop talking. Figure out your pacing. Devolver, I don't care about your games. I just want to like make me laugh. Um, so it's like, and I can't think of a Devolver Digital game off the top of my head. I just think of
Really?
them and their hilarious hilarious antics. I can't remember a game right now. I'm sure that I know some, but I just can't think of any right now because I think of them. I think of hilarious antics in their videos rather than their games. So,
It was like My Friend Pedro, you don't remember?
oh, okay.
With the banana and and
Okay.
you know.
Yeah,
Eh,
that's true. But yeah, I think that's like to their I don't know, there's pros and cons in that, but I think I've associated them more with their videos rather than
Yeah.
their games. And that could be a negative, you know. I don't know how it's turning into game sales for them, but they're funny to watch.
Yeah.
and
I'm
some
glad they're
of
still
them
doing it.
yeah, and you have no idea what's going on. And I do have a friend that works for them, I think, in their trailer department and everything now. So, like, I don't think I'm going to be able to get any inside information, but it's funny that like I know someone that's playing into that now.
Well, all the people that you see there aren't actually Devolver employees. They're all
hmm
actors. Every single person you see there saying they're a Devolver, it's all actors. And
hmm
some of them don't even play video games. It's just like this is a job I went to, an audition I went to, and I got it, and they treat it just like a TV show. Like it's another, a yearly TV show.
It's essentially what it is. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Well, if you are new to the podcast and you've not subscribed yet, we just encourage you to do that on your favorite podcast app or on YouTube. We also stream our recordings usually every other Monday evening at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time, 5:30 p.m. Pacific Time. And yeah, again, sorry for those of you that are in Central Europe or any other time zone. I don't know what those are. Uh, but yeah, normally this is a pre-recorded episode, but normally we are doing that live on Monday evenings in the U.S. at least. And we're also joined by Greg. Again, missing Greg on this episode, but yeah, subscribe. Join us over on social media at NintendoFuse on Twitter, and join our Discord as well to keep on chatting with us in between episodes. We're going to be back with our next episode on. I think we're still on schedule, most likely to be recording on June 19th, unless anything crazy happens out of the ordinary. We're not sure yet about what July is going to look like. Barry's got a kid on the way. I've got some other traveling going on and some other things like that. So July may be one of those months that we do take off. But stay tuned to our social media and our Discord and everything. We'll let you know about that upcoming schedule once we get a little bit closer. But knowing that our next recording should take place on June 19th, we have a few games that are going to be coming out over the next couple weeks. Not like last episode where I think everything came out on May 25th. We have a lot less games coming out these next couple of weeks. Some of the ones that I did want to highlight, we talked about already. Loop 8 comes out on June 6th. Senses Midnight comes out on June 7th. Harmony, The Fall of Reverie comes out on June 8th. Talk to Strangers, which I thought was just a funny game. I don't think it's going to be like a AAA, it's definitely not a AAA game, but I was just like, we tell people not to talk to strangers all the time, and now we got a game called Talk to Strangers. And you can do that on on June 8th. We also get a game that I thought would be right up your alley, Barry, called Proto Corgi. And it's exactly what you think it is. You're playing this like robo corgi, and it comes out on June 15th. Etrian Odyssey 1 through 3 HD comes out on June 15th, and Pandemic 1993 comes out on June 16th. Just in case you want to live through another pandemic, you can. But it's back in 1993. I must have missed this pandemic, but it's coming out on June 16th. So, Barry, any of those games you're going to be playing, or you're going to be just plugging away on some backlog?
My goal is to finish Street Fighter 6, and I want to do some Diablo 4. I'm really upset that Diablo 4 requires you to have PS Plus because I don't have PS Plus, because I don't really play online, and Diablo 4 is one of those where even the single player is online, and that really saddens me because I love the Diablo series and I've heard excellent things about Diablo 4. Like it's just a really excellent game, and I don't do a lot of the end game. I play a lot just for the story. So I might subscribe for 1 month for PS Plus just to play, but I hate having to pay more just to play a single player game. So Blizzard, screw you on that one. That is terrible. That is a terrible thing to do. But that's my goal. I might, if I don't decide to do Diablo 4 because of that, I might finally get to Process of Elimination, which came out a little earlier this year. That one looked interesting, and I wanted to do it, but I've got the schedule trying to go up, and I guess for me, since the back half of this year right now, there's a lot of things we don't know. Like there's a Trails of game coming out in the back half of this year, Rune Factory 3 special, more casual or RPGs that I'm looking forward to. But if there's not a lot of big games, like that's okay. I'll be busy, so I won't be missing much. But yeah, that's my plan currently. Like Shiga said, Street Fighter 6 is really taken into me, and I'm still doing Final Fantasy 14, of course.
Nice, nice. Well, it sounds like you'll have enough time for Proto Corgi, so that sounds
Yeah,
good.
maybe if they send me a code.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, and Etrian Odyssey, definitely play those if you haven't played them. I'm getting the physical, and I'd like to play them again, but maybe when I've got time. But they're phenomenal RPGs.
Yeah. Yeah, I think, I mean, definitely a lot of my time for a good chunk of the rest of the summer is going to be on Tears of the Kingdom. And so when I'm not playing that, I did end up getting, I think this is okay to talk about. I just can't play it yet or tell you what my thoughts are, but I can't play it yet anyway. Is Harmony, The Fall of Reverie. I did get a code for that one because that's the Don't Nod game, isn't it? I believe.
Oh, is that the Donut
I
game?
think it
Oh,
is. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's it. It's one of those
yeah.
weird games that like they the window that I'm able to play, I can't cash in the code until basically like the day before it comes out, and the window of time where you can release your thoughts and reviews and everything is like 3 hours later. I'm like, there's no way I'm gonna be able to get this out even close to that window. So probably in the next podcast, I'll be able to talk about it and talk about it mostly in full if I get some decent time with it around Tears of the Kingdom. But that's probably the two games that I'll be playing over the next couple weeks. But yeah, let us know what you guys are going to be playing. If you're on YouTube, let us know in the comments. But if you're listening to us on your favorite podcast app, let us know on social media or in our Discord. We'd love to know what you guys are going to be playing over the next couple weeks as well. And yeah, we're gonna be back on June 19th with our next episode, unless crazy things happen where we have to change up the schedule or anything like that, especially with babies. Sometimes they decide to come early or late or whatever, so anything like that can probably happen in Barry's life. So we're gonna have to make some adjustments whenever his son's gonna be in charge soon, so that's how it's gonna go. And and then yeah, for me,
This
I'm
will be
like,
my escape.
yeah. But then yeah, I've got like traveling and stuff like that that's going to happen this summer. That's actually one of that's the big reason why we had to adjust for this episode, because we unexpected travel this week that I did not plan on, but things happen and stuff like that, so we know summer schedules are all over the place. So like we said, make sure you stay tuned to our social media and our Discord for up-to-date information about when the next episodes are coming out and all that stuff, especially once we hit July. But yeah, other than baby and trying to fit some games, movies, all that stuff in your life, anything else happening in your world, Barry, over the next couple weeks?
That's the main thing, figuring out schedules for like the in-laws coming to stay and visit and help and all that stuff because they all want to see and don't want us to go crazy, and training puppies, which is a big thing, and especially two at a time. It's as an undertaking, even as they're older. They're still very much puppies, and just trying to live as fun as we can and do the things we normally have done for the past 40 years of our lives, before things start to get a little uprooted and change and at least a little more complicated, going forward. And even though that's going to be only a short little bit before we're able to do things, and you drop them off. You're here, go stay with them for a while while we go to the movies or whatever. It's gonna be an interesting adjustment. So we're just trying to have like our last hurrah. People call it like a what is it? like a baby moon,
Baby Moon,
where
yeah.
it's like our baby moon is just going to the movies, and we went to street fair today, and just enjoying life, enjoying the time we have together, before that all changes.
Yep, yep. Well, cool. Well, thank you guys all for being here for this episode. We normally do it live, so next time, please be sure to join us live in the chat room. We love interacting with you guys throughout the entire episode, but since we didn't get to this time, we still want to hear from you. So let us know, like we said, in the chat or in the comments and on social media in our Discord. We want to know what your thoughts are about all the stuff we've talked about in this episode, all the different games that you're playing, games that you're looking forward to playing, all those different things. We still do want to hear from you, so please take advantage of the comments, social media, and Discord so that we can continue to hear from you. But yeah, until unless anything crazy happens, we should be back on June 19th with a live recording. So we'll see you then, and until then, happy gaming, everybody.
Have a good one.